What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another XFL breakdown here on Sharp Sports Network. I'm your host, Joe Biewer, and I'm going to be breaking down some of my favorite plays for this week 4 XFL slate. Before I do that, I just want to do a quick recap of last week. Cardale Jones kind of looked like a high school football player, to be honest. 4 interceptions, was just a really terrible week. So week 2 went really well. Week 3 fell a little bit short. We had some highlights with some of the players. But this week, I'm really excited about. I think we're going to have a ton of edge over the field. It's going to be an incredible week. Let's jump into it over here on Draftkings. Want to go ahead and talk about quarterbacks here. It's no stranger to the public that Philip Walker is just a lock. It's just a really solid matchup for him again. Going up against the number 6 passing defense in the league. It's going to be a shootout of a match. Highest team total on the Houston and highest game total in this game. It's just no surprise, and to me, 12K is still playable for somebody like Philip Walker. I really like him a ton today. It's tough to get away from him in this game where I think it's going to really shoot out. Dallas has been playing really well. Defense hasn't been too bad, but both teams' defense hasn't really shined. Houston allowed a lot of points last week, a lot of points. So I think that this is definitely another matchup where Dallas could put up some points on Houston, keep it very close. So for me, I'm probably going to lean Philip Walker here. I think it's just a smart play. It's a smart play for cash games. It's even a tournament viable play, as we've seen. If you want some salary saver, my favorite secondary quarterback is probably going to be Landry Jones. I think in this matchup, he hasn't really flashed too much ceiling upside yet in the league. Kind of around 20 fantasy points over the past 2 weeks, but he's just throwing a ton, 40 times 2 straight weeks, 3 touchdowns. He has a little bit of interception trouble. So for me, I really like Landry Jones here today. I don't think it's a terrible matchup at all, as Houston's defense kind of proved to not be bulletproof last week. So Landry makes a ton of sense for me at 9.8K as my favorite tournament play. So I really like him a ton. I won't give away too many options here as our members get some perks over there. On Sharp Sports Network. If you haven't already grabbed a pass, you'll get my free cheat sheet, or not my free cheat sheet, but my members only cheat sheet for everybody right before lock. Let's jump into the running back section over here. Cameron Artis paying 8K, got a price decrease after being quite terrible last week, but I think what's going to be the biggest factor today is Jarrell Presley. He was limited. He's probable, but even last week he didn't really put up too many numbers as far as his volume. Donnell Pumphrey really got more of the run. He's been really involved in the receiving game. I think Cardale Jones really relies on him on some check down passes just to kind of get moving. So I really like Donnell Pumphrey here today. I don't think it's a terrible matchup at all. And then, of course, Matt Jones, 7,100, still seems cheap for an incredible amount of volume. Double fantasy points 2 weeks in a row. Finally got a touchdown. Last week as well, a rushing touchdown, because prior to that was only a receiving touchdown on a screen pass. So Matt Jones a ton. So those would probably be my 2 higher price guys. Like I said, for the value guys that I'm probably going to be running, I'll just leave that for the members. And then, of course, no surprise, Cam Phillips, 3 touchdowns 2 weeks in a row. It's kind of hard to fade him. I don't think he'll have 3 touchdowns again today, but the matchup is just too hard to ignore. They're just terrible. Cover defense is just awful. I really think that this is a super solid matchup here for Cam Phillips. Now, the craziest thing today is Nelson Spruce is out, so we're going to want to play some backup. Trey McBride's going to be very popular if he plays. He has that thigh injury. He's probably went off last week in the absence of Nelson Spruce, who got injured. And, of course, we were very high on Nelson Spruce last week, who was projected to have such an incredible game. But Trey McBride can be the only person. Jordan Smallwood should see some run. I really think this is a red zone guy who gets a ton of work in the red zone. So if LA is going to stay competitive and win this game, they're going to have to do it through the air. They're not a huge running team in my opinion. So for me, I like Jordan Smallwood as kind of a value play. 6.7K is pretty easy to get to, especially with the injuries that they currently have. A lot of people are going to flag to Donald Parham. And for me, I understand that if Landry Jones is going to throw, he's got to throw to somebody. Parham's probably going to be that guy. But I have a couple other value plays that I really like that I think make a ton of sense for Landry Jones to throw to, because if you're going to be playing Cam Phillips and Philip Walker, I mean, just putting them in, which I think is going to be a very popular option, you're going to be left with 5K left. And it's really not hard to make this work. You can still get another top price wide receiver. You could still get a Donald Parham in your lineup and still make it work with the value that's present. So with that being said, for wide receiver, I'm really high on Cam Phillips, and I think that Trey McBride's going to be a very popular play if he is 100% healthy to go. Now, defense is where I think this is going to be the edgiest part. Everybody's going to flock to the Battlehawks in Seattle Dragons game on Sunday. It's a very low-scoring game. It's going to be very defensive, I think, as well. Jordan Ta'amu didn't really play too well last week, so I think it's going to be a very run-heavy game for Seattle. Defenders. DC defenders have had one of the best defenses in the league. They've scored the most points, most touchdowns, stuff like that. I really like them against Tampa Bay. I think this is a great matchup. The Wildcats are easily my favorite defense. Matt McGloin isn't going to be playing. They're going to be playing with a backup quarterback in Mike Williams, I think it is. So I don't see how this is not the chalkiest play. Or they go with 7.1K Luis Perez, but I don't see how this isn't the best defensive play on the slate. Makes a ton of sense. 4.5K, it's not hard to get to. You're going to be able to get some value in at wide receiver and running back to make it work, as well as getting another top-tier wide receiver. I think you don't play double running back today. I think you play 4 receivers because running back is so thin. It's a punt position every week because you really never know what you're going to get. And there's no running backs that are really safe. Matt Jones is probably the most consistent, but at 7.1K, kind of limits your upside for receivers, and we really need some receivers here today if you're going to be playing Phillip Walker. Even if you play Landry Jones, you're still going to want to play. Cam Phillips is just a lock. It's just super easy to get him in. So I really like Cam Phillips. Donald Parham as well, super easy. I really like the Houston-Dallas game. It's a really solid game to target, and I really like the New York and Wildcats game. I like that game a ton. Over here on Fanduel, though, take a jump over here. I think Phillip Walker is super underpriced. $23 seems really underpriced for Phillip Walker. It's not hard to get him in. I think it's super underpriced. Landry Jones is also super underpriced as well at $18 for GPP play, like we were talking about. Running back Matt Jones, $17. I don't mind it because they've really priced up a bunch of running backs that have seen work either in the passing game or the running game. Lance Dunbar, not a huge rusher, but he gets heavily involved in the passing game, averaging a ton of targets. Probably one of the most targeted backs in the league. Splitting time with Cameron Artis-Payne, who gets more of the rushing time. So for me, I think you just pay up. I mean, there's not too much. Maybe Pumphrey at $14 like we were talking about earlier. And then wide receiver, this is pretty much where you're going to start all your lineups. Cam Phillips. It's just hard. It's so easy to play both of these guys. They've priced up some of the players that make no sense. DeAndre Tompkins at $17. I understand that. But Eli Rogers at $15 is a little disrespectful here over on FanDuel. Pearson L is also a solid receiver at $16. It just doesn't make sense how you don't get these guys in. There's no defense over here on FanDuel, so it makes things a little bit harder. Because the defense would obviously be a position where you could pay $2-3 for a defense, and it would just be way easier to stack a bunch of receivers. So you're really going to have to find value. You're really going to have to get some of this low-hanging fruit value, either at running back or wide receiver. But this is pretty much how I'm going to start all my lineups and try and get Trey McBride in as well. I think the lineup construction is a little bit easier over there on DraftKings. But like I said, I'm going to leave the rest of the content and value for my members. Good luck to everybody today. Hope y'all enjoyed this video. Looking to crush it again this week. There will be a free article up on Sharp Sports Network here soon. Go ahead and check that out. I'm going to be covering some of my favorite plays from this video in sort of a article form. So with that being said, good luck to everybody. If you're not already a member, please go ahead and join the Sharp Sports Network team. We're absolutely crushing it over here in all sports. Good luck to everybody today. I will see you all next week on Week 5 for the Week 5 XFL breakdown here on Sharp Sports Network. Peace.